plaintiff, Caden Montana, says he and the defendant are both transgender men who are transitioning from a female to a male. Caden claims after he started dating the defendant, he became extremely clingy and needy, and Caden's suing him today for a security deposit. Defendant Caden Iverson says the beginning of his transition from a woman to a man was really difficult, and the plaintiff was a great support. However, he soon discovered that the plaintiff did nothing but sit at home all day smoking pot, and Caden's countersuing his ex for rent.
Start with you.
I met Caden a little over a year ago through the community in San Diego. We're both transgender, female to male. I transitioned 5 years ago, both still in the process. It's a never-ending process. We started dating in February through a now ex-friend of mine. Said he was interested in dating me. So we started hanging out, seeing what would happen. And as soon as we started dating, it kind of, it was okay. It was even plateau. We decided to move in together in April, and things just went really downhill from there.
How so?
I just found out that he wasn't the person I wanted to be with. He was very emotionally needy, very clingy, very just all over me. I couldn't take it. We're 16 years apart.
How long after dating did you discover it was too much for you?
Probably about 3 months into the relationship.
He was too clingy.
I'd be on the phone and be like, who are you talking to? Where are you going? No.
Oh, that's insecure.
Well,
Clingy means he wants to be around. Every time you look around, there he is. And you watching football and drinking a beer, and he comes and sits on your lap, and you can't see the football game.
Yep.
Every time you say, well, I'm going up to the store to get some bread. Why are you leaving
I was going out with my friends, he had to go with me. Yep.
Huh?
Every time I went out with my friends, he had to be right there if he wasn't at work. So,
Sir, how do you want to respond?
I don't know what he means about clingy. I work 7 days a week. I have a full-time job. When I'm able to
if you work full-time, then he should expect to be around after work. You prefer he not, huh?
To a certain extent.
You don't mind him being around, but just in the other room.
Well, no, sir. It's not that I love spending time with him, but, sometimes you go out and hang with my boys and not have them there. Right. Now it's hard to do.
Defendant Caden Iverson dated the plaintiff, and he says they are both transgender men who are transitioning from a female to a male.
All right, sir. You want to tell me any other background before we get into the security deposit?
He calls my friends saying things about me, trying to find information about me, trying to find out my ex's information. I never called him. I never...
What was the purpose of calling your friends saying negative things?
My witness is right here. You can ask her.
Well, I'm wondering what the purpose is. Come on up, unless you all had fallen out. State your name.
Juliana Piontek.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been friends with Caden for a couple of years, and I met, as I refer to him, my Caden and Caden number 2.
Okay.
But on the side of him saying that he's clingy and needy, we did have a couple of conversations about how their relationship was going or not going well, and that how he was Caden number 2 was disappointed and not happy with the fact that he didn't get a lot of emotional, a lot of hugging and touching, and he wanted to have just affection with Caden. He was very standoffish, and he didn't understand.
How long have you all been together?
We were together for 4 months, from February to June.
And you showing him at least the first 4 months.
I sure did, and that's when I got sick of it and didn't show him anymore.
You should have still had the hots at that point.
Any amount of affection I would have given him wasn't enough, so no matter what I did, it wasn't enough.
Okay. All right. You want to respond before we get to the security deposit? Yes, sir.
So I've been in the transgender community for 2.5 years now. First beginning of my transition was pretty difficult. I was living up in San Marcos at the time, came back down. I wanted to get into some activism. Kate and I, we actually met through the community. It was great at first, we did activism together. And then as things went on, I entered in a pageant. I'm Mr. Trans San Diego 2011.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I knew he looked familiar.
Your Honor, that's a pageant that I own.
And so we were doing a lot of things together in the community.
All right, what was your activism? You campaign against Proposition 8?
I do. My main thing is, educating others about, what transgender really means. Because,
good.
So him and I, we had this relationship, and I thought he had his head on his shoulders when we first met. I thought, this man he's a 35-year-old man. He has his stuff together. He has goals. He wants to own his own business. But then once I started to get to know him better, I realized the real him, which was sitting at home all day smoking pot, smoking cigarettes. If he wasn't at home smoking pot, he was at the bar drinking. That's where I was trying to reach out to him so that way he would show affection to everybody. I mean, everybody was shut off from him. Nobody in the community, I'd get phone calls from his friends. Everybody was asking me, hey, what's up with Caden? You know, he became this angry person. He was out to get everybody because he felt everybody was out to get him. He was mad.
It's like you were out to get him. You followed him you followed him all around the house every day. Let me get to the security deposit, sir.
He was like that trail of toilet paper on your shoe you can't get rid of. And as far as the activism goes, I've been doing everything. He came back from San Marcos. I let him follow me to see what I did so he could get involved in the community.
I'm glad
I didn't shut anybody out but him.
All right. Proposition 8 is the referendum that was passed by the voters in California, making it unlawful for gay and transgender and lesbian folks to marry. So it has gone to court. And the court has ruled the law that was passed by the citizens unconstitutional.
Absolutely.
And so it's still in the courts, and perhaps the courts will determine, as many outsiders would determine, based on just plain old equality. There's a word called equality, and hopefully they'll conclude that outside of anyone's religious belief, this isn't a religious fight. This is a fight about equality. So let's hope that that happens, and hope that all the religious folks who don't like the things I'm saying understand that I'm not talking from a religious standpoint. I'm talking from a constitutional, legal, and equality standpoint. All right. Now, security deposit. How does he owe for that?
I paid the security deposit. You can see on my bank statement, the same day we signed the lease, I pulled the money out of my account to pay for the security deposit. It was $750. The rent was $500. It was the agreement at the time that I would pay the security deposit and the first month's rent, which I did. On June 10th, he called and said he was moving out at an hour's notice, showed up with his witness, his mom, and his stepdad, and moved all his stuff out of the house except for what he didn't want, including his cat.
Okay. And why does he owe you money? Because he abandoned the lease?
He abandoned the lease. I had to move out in 3 days because he didn't give me any notice, nor the landlord any notice also.
Why did you have to move in 3 days? Usually it would be 30 days because you would pay that last month.
I couldn't pay it on my own. And, the landlord had already filed the eviction notice because he didn't know he was moving out.
Defendant Caden Iverson dated the plaintiff, and he says they are both transgender men who are transitioning from a female to a male.
All right, sir. What do you want to tell me?
I disagree. Our arrangement was, yes, he in fact would pay the $750. At the time I was living at home with my mom. I was very comfortable with where I was at. He came to me and said, Caden, you know, I'm having a hard time with the roommate that I'm living with right now. He needed to move out.
That's not true.
So I said, okay. So we moved in together because our relationship was going great at that time. We get to the apartment where we're going to move in. The landlord's standing right there, and he pays $750 and looks at me and he goes, what about the rest? And luckily I had just got paid, so I had the $500 to give up. I do have a letter from the landlord stating that I paid the $500 and he paid the $750 at the beginning. And then also I paid the $750 for the next month, which he paid no contribution to. Our agreement was he was going to pay half of the rent, which was $375.
So is this true about the
No, it's not true. I also paid the deposit for the cable bill. You paid the cable bill. He didn't pay
we're not talking about that. We're talking about the $750.
No, that was not true.
I do have proof. I have the statement from the landlord. Would you like that?
Yeah, please.
And I also have on the receipt here that was paid. It was all paid at once.
Security deposit.
Yes.
So I paid the $750, or I'm sorry, he paid the $750, I paid the $500. Then the next month I paid cash $750 to the landlord.
This is to inform you that Iverson, I'm going to use the last names because you both have the same first names. So Iverson, which is you, Iverson gave me $500 cash for prorated rent, and Montana gave me $750 for the security deposit. Iverson also paid rent for May. The security deposit was consumed by both parties. So the landlord kept the security deposit.
He also never paid rent, Your Honor.
The rent is your counterclaim. Let's get to that counterclaim. $625 for unpaid rent.
Because he didn't pay half of the $250 prorated rent.
And you paid it?
I paid it. I paid the full $500 at the beginning for the prorated rent.
Representing which months?
That's representing the first month we moved in. So
I don't know when that was.
April. Thank you.
Your Honor, if I may.
Sounds like he knows a little more than you.
If I may.
So you paid April and what else?
April and May.
Sir?
In April when we moved in, I also paid the deposit for the cable bill and I also brought groceries and everything else into the house.
Okay.
So
he's talking about everything but the rent. So
Your Honor.
Sounds like he does. Oh,
Your Honor.
I'll grant you, sir, the $750 for your deposit. I'll grant you the $625 for the unpaid rent. You both get what you're suing each other for. So you should walk away happy. All right, have a good day.
I think you're a loser. You smoke pot too. You bought it from me. You have your license too. And you'll get what's coming to you. And have fun with the Empress is your friend because you ain't gonna get nowhere with that piece of.
Oh, really? You want to talk about me?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Who has no job? No,
I do have a job. I have
oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, really?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I do. I have 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job.
Let's just let's just go our separate ways.
I don't smoke pot. I'm in the health industry.
You don't know.
I don't waste my time with
talk
that.
to me anymore.
Yeah, that's your fault, not mine.
Exactly. I don't need people like
I love you too, Juliana. Thanks for lying to me. Thanks for lying to me.
But I got
You lied to her. You called her trying to get information about me.
Low-class loser, and like I said, and
I'm the one with the job. I'm the one with the job.
I have 2 jobs and a part-time job.
Right here.
So
Right here.
whatever.